It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And we call the first hour the Go Hour with our Heisman Trophy voter and good friend, Olin Buchanan. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
It was all right. You know,
Yep.
You can't really plan a lot when you know you're going to work on Sunday. But watched the TV show that I've been binging for the last couple of days. And
What show?
It's
Tell
called
me.
Black Sails. It's about pirates.
Oh, I think you've told me about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So I've become kind of like Mike Leach, interested in the pirates and things like that. So I watched that, and seems like we went out to eat every meal. I'll tell you,
I want to see you in an eye patch. That's actually what I really want.
Yeah, well, I actually, you might have saw that had you been at the game in Georgia 2 years ago. I had woke up with this eye problem, was able to send a picture of my eye to our friend Eye Doc Mike,
Right.
who then sent in a prescription to the Walmart in Athens, Georgia. So I was able to pick up the prescription, and
You were good at that point.
so TexAgger's always taking care of me.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
We had some dinner with him there in Hoover, Alabama. So good weekend, caught up on some shows, and you worked on a Sunday because you're not Chick-fil-A.
No.
And here we are to break things down. I got to do a lot of soccer this weekend. It is that time of year for my family. Not only did I go see the Aggie soccer team yesterday, very impressed with their second half. Not the best first half, but I got to check out my daughter doing some tryouts there with ODP and Gareth Glick, who's the main guy over here at with the Cavalry, the local team here that plays during the summer. So we had a good old time with that. Spent a lot of time with the Aggies yesterday. I've obviously practiced, talking to the team. Really impressed with some youngsters out there, which is why I brought out the question today. Which Aggie newcomer are you most excited about? OB, let that sit in. Let that kind of rest in your mind as you come up with
Marinate.
I try to get away from marinate because what I've noticed is things that you say on the radio, people tell you.
I think it could be a catchphrase for you.
It could be, but I haven't done it in a while. I haven't let marinate since like week 2. I don't know if you've noticed.
I think you should bring it back.
I think you should bring the eye patch back.
Well, I guess the next time I wake up with an eye problem, I will.
Didn't that happen? Am I wrong? Did that happen on Seinfeld? Was there an episode where George either talked about an eye patch or wore an eye
Probably.
patch? I think.
Probably.
Or maybe I just...
I know one time he was wearing a pirate shirt.
And so did Jerry. Jerry
Yeah,
wore it on
yeah, that's right. Jerry
wore
wearing
it on the Tonight Show. The puffy shirt, the puffy pirate shirt. That's right. Let's go around the room and say hello to our friends. We go to the mothership, as I call it, but it's the Fish Bowl where Niños are hanging. And Dalton, good morning to you, Dalton.
Morning, guys. Happy Monday. Everybody good, it sounds like. Effective weekend in the studio.
2 days in a row, I've seen you happy. Friday, you're in a good mood. Today, you're in a good mood. Whatever you're doing, continue it.
Well, I don't know if I can keep it, but no, it's almost football season. It's that fun time of the year, and nothing really to be sad about yet until like Friday of the first game week, and then I'm going to be wanting a nap.
Well, I understand that. Nap time always comes to me right around 2 or 3 o'clock. I need one.
Really?
I do.
Thought you were.
Or I want one.
Yeah.
No,
that surprises me.
I love naps. I don't think I get enough sleep, even when I get enough sleep.
You just seem like such an energetic guy that you don't need a nap.
No, I need a nap. I don't get it, but I need it.
The problem is making sure your nap doesn't turn into sleeping in the afternoon. That's the big issue.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do, like, when I rest, it's not gonna be a 15-minute power nap. People say you feel better. No, I need 15 more and 15 more and then 15
I
more.
typically need a nap right after I wake up.
Yeah, I think I do too. I'm always sleepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Until then I get up, I get my shower, I get moving around and everything. I got up early today and actually got on my son's treadmill and got a quick 30 minutes in to start the day.
Look at you.
If we talk about the weird sleeping schedule, I feel like my thing is I'll wake up at one time, feel great. I'm like, I'm going to lay here for 20 more minutes. And then I'll lay here. And when I wake back up, I feel awful.
That's the key. Just
and that's weird. I should just get up.
Yeah.
You think I'd know that by now. I'm almost 26 years old.
Snoozing is actually bad, I've read for you, but I love it in the moment, and then I feel terrible later. A lot of sleep talk here on the show. We're going to rebrand the show, Sleepy Time with Nuño and Olin. By the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, we wouldn't mind.
The go-to-bed hour.
The go-to-bed hour?
The go-to-sleep hour.
We've been doing that for a couple of months now, Olin. You can call us up on the BCS Eye Associates hotline as we flush out or flesh out. What was it? What was the proper term?
Flesh
out. Yep, that's what I meant. Flesh out the Aggie newcomer you're most excited about, 979-693-1150, the BCSI Associates hotline, and the A&B text line at that same number, 979-693-1150. And now we turn our attention to Tori Esprovo in the News and Social Center. Tori, you had yourself a busy day yesterday as well, helping us all over the place. Aggie football and Aggie soccer.
Yes, I did. And I got a couple headlines from yesterday. Our number 9, Texas A&M Aggie soccer. Like you said, got our victory last night in the second half, which was a good second half. And then today, actually, Texas A&M women's basketball team learned their 16-game conference slate for this. I'm almost choked on radio. Wow. For this season. And then also Sunday, we had the press conference with football. So, Jimbo Fisher, Miles Jones, and Hez Jones and Chase Lane addressed media and gave us some updates.
Yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed being there. And look, for many of you guys, you have been around Chase Lane and Hez. I've been around Hez a little bit. But seeing them up close yesterday, I really enjoyed hearing from Chase Lane just how thoughtful his responses were. Not that equates a great football player by any stretch, but he seems like a guy that is more than just football, but he's a really good football player.
He is. In fact, I think he's undervalued as a receiver. I think Hez Jones strikes me as a really, really smart, industrious type of guy. Both guys are very, the type of guy that you want representing you. Miles Jones is a little bit quieter.
Yep.
Not uncooperative, but quiet. Doesn't have a lot to say, but would rather just go out and play football. But, I think all those guys came out there and, had something good to say and really makes you, like you said, it doesn't mean you're a good football player. I mean, I've seen guys that could really talk that couldn't really play, but they've proved it. Their worth already on the field. Now you just get a chance to see, another side of them.
Yeah, no, it's then I'm watching. So what I did yesterday was a couple of the guys that were speaking, I tried to stay around their position group yesterday. So I hung around the wide receivers quite a bit, did a little recap afterwards, and just watch what they do in between drills, the attention to detail, the conversations. Hey, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this right. They were working with each other. I'm watching Caleb Chapman, who I think is becoming more comfortable with his right knee. That's one of those things that it takes a while. Like that, you don't just come back naturally and you're running. And I think each time I've seen him, I know he's still in the yellow jersey. There's a reason for that. They're trying to limit the hits that he takes. But I saw him, and not only is he just a big dude, he's explosive.
Oh, yeah. And he's come back. This is the second time he's come back from injury. He had the one that kept him out, I guess, when they were about the time they were playing in the Gator Bowl a couple of years ago, was hurt then. And then he finally got on the field last year and got hurt. But if he can keep – I don't blame him for being really careful with him because he can be a difference maker. And I'm sure he's healthy or he wouldn't be out there at all. But, there's just right now one of those things where, you put that vase somewhere where it's prominent, but where nobody's going to hit it and knock it down yet. Right. So, he really is a special player. And I think that, we just got a glimpse of what he can be and what he can mean to the offense last year.
I am totally intrigued by the wide receiver group because
stacked.
It is stacked, and a lot of people thought it was going to be a position of weakness or just not a super. There are so many playmakers, and you can tell that they're trying to test the ball down the field there at practice. They've got – look, I want Demas back ASAP. I do, and I think he will be back soon from what we're reading and hearing. But I'm not as worried because of the pieces around there as well. They need them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't. They absolutely need them, but I'm just very encouraged by the young players. I'm encouraged by the older players. I'm encouraged by players coming back from injury. They have a really good group.
They really do. And, you go back and you see Hez Jones, for instance, and he came in last season after Caleb got hurt and DeMond wasn't quite ready. And he showed himself to be a very reliable third down guy. He didn't make a lot of big plays, but by gosh, if you needed a catch on 3rd and 9, he'd catch it. They had some other guys would get in there and they might drop a ball on 3rd down and then they're out and Hez is back in. And he the odds that he's going to retain his starting job, I would think, are against him.
Right.
Because you got a guy like Chapman who's coming back. You've got Damon Demas and everything he has to offer. Little Price is, I think, he's going to be a really good football player before he leaves here. So here's a guy that has been a starter in Hez Jones and actually played well in his role. And I just don't know that you just assume he's going to get as many snaps as he got last year.
And then how do you do it when you have a playmaker like Keith Brown that has turned heads at practice and who's going to try to find his way on the field? They're going to find a way to get these guys some looks.
Yeah, just based on the past, I'm skeptical how much we'll see Keith Brown. Now, he may seem a lot, but I remember Caleb Chapman. We would go in there and see him practice. He'd look really good, and then we don't see him yet. Damon, we would hear all these things, and we don't see him yet. Let's see, who else was it? There's another one out there that, we'd hear good things about him as as young, but didn't see him yet. And so Moose, another guy.
We didn't even talk about Moose, yeah.
And when I watch him in his highlights, I'm just so blown away at how good the guy is. So they just tend to move those receivers along slowly. That doesn't mean that, he won't be so fast and so good that you have to play him. But in my experience watching Jimbo Fisher since he's been here, you see some guys that have a lot of promise, but they still went with Kendrick Rogers and Courtney Davis, and then the older, more established guys that have been around a while. And maybe that comes from just learning the offense is supposed to be so complicated.
Who was talking about that playbook yesterday? Was it Chase?
I think it was Chase.
Yeah,
it was really
real big, and it just takes a while to absorb it. And you're coming from a high school playbook, typically that is, I don't know, few pages compared to what you're getting there.
I don't know how it is now. I know when I played, as a receiver, you knew 9 routes,
right?
And they would call it by number, and you'd run that route, and they were never going to throw it because when I was in high school, everybody just ran the football.
They ran the football, yeah. You just ran out there to make the defense honest. Hey, I do want to run some sound, but we'll have to hold on it. Kenyon Green obviously talked to Billy over the weekend, and we have some great exclusive NIL stuff on TexAgs.com. We have a little bit of a chunk of that I'd like for you guys to hear. If you are a subscriber, you got to see it right away. I think it was Saturday that it came out, or maybe it was Friday. Was it Friday afternoon?
Yes.
Friday afternoon.
I want to think that's quick. By the way, Anais is the other guy that was a freshman that they brought along real slow.
And look at him now.
Yeah.
And look at him now. So good point. So we got all that and much more. But when we do come back, 21 and 21 presented by Factory Builder Stores. We've got number 10.
Facebook friend and get even more of the zone. More of the zone. Like us on Facebook at Zone 1150.
The love that I have for Texas A&M is just feeling so much a part of the school, feeling like there's always people there to support you, that you've got a friend no matter what.
I'd want to give a student the chance to do something they want to do. And the association, I know, gave a lot of my friends the ability to go forward and to actually pick the major they wanted, do the studies they wanted to do.
When I started thinking about college, I had one goal in mind, and that was my parents will not pay for my schooling.
There's a lot of kids out there who are going to make good Aggies, and we ought to give them a chance, and I'm willing to put my share in to try to help them.
Of all of our traditions that are well known, the one that sometimes gets passed over and just taken for granted is perhaps the greatest, and that's Aggies helping Aggies.
To learn more about the association's impact or to make a gift, visit tx.ag/giving.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
The flagship station for Aggie Athletics is The Zone. Whenever the Aggies are playing, you can hear them right here at 1150 and 93.7 FM. Thanks to our listeners and our sponsors for backing the Aggies all season long. First Financial Bank, Bryan College Station Toyota, Rudy's Barbecue, Schulte Roofing, The Sleep Station, and Pioneer Steel. Here's a big gig 'em to all these sponsors. Listen to Aggie Athletics on The Zone 1150 and 93.7 FM.
Football season is just around the corner. How do we know? It's our annual SEC football preview. Tune in each weekday afternoon as we listen to the players and coaches who will determine this year's league champ. The SEC football preview brought to you by First Financial Bank, putting you first, and by the UPS stores of College Station. Tune in each weekday afternoon at 4:30 for the SEC football preview, exclusively here on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
How he take care of his players too, just making sure that they're good, after football, off the field, especially like mentally. He always talking about mental health. So that's a great thing, having a coach that actually care about you on and off the field and just not, on the field for results. So I felt like I made the right choice, and I'm glad that I'm an Aggie. And
I think a lot of Aggies are glad you're an Aggie too, Kenyon.
All right, Liucci there with Kenyon Green. We ran that on Friday on TexAgs.com. If you haven't checked it out.
Sunday.
Excuse me, Sunday. Is that when
Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
The days all run together to me.
Gosh, goodness, I don't even know is today Monday?
Today is Monday.
So Sunday we released that information. Thank you so much for the correction there, Dalton. And if you're a subscriber, you were able to see that. But big news there from Billy, getting him, and another just a big NIL push for TexAgs and our friends at Greenprint. So we appreciate all that to get the content that we're trying to give you guys all here at TexAgs. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance studio. Rollo Insurance, an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all your insurance goals. Rollo can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states as well. It has 30 offices in the state. You can call them up at 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com. Another hit on Kenyon. I don't know if you saw Billy's notes that he posted yesterday, but he has, as a guess at this moment, Kenyon may be playing on the right side as opposed to the left side, and that's for Jeremiah Johnson to feel more comfortable where he is naturally a left tackle.
Yeah, that's the word. Jameer's more comfortable on the left side, so it's not about.
Did I call him Jeremiah?
Yeah.
You should have just
Robert
told
Redford.
Him. Yeah, you can go ahead and tell me, idiot Nuño, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
But to put him on if he's more comfortable on the left, that just goes to show how good Kenyon is. Hey, and the guy, and how cooperative the frame of mind he has, because there are those that would say, now wait a minute, I want to be on the left side because I'm going into the NFL next year.
And I need to show this.
And I need to show because the left tackle makes more money than the right tackle. And if he makes an issue out of it, he might be your best player. Don't you want to keep him happy?
But for the good of the team.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what does that say about, I mean, for some it seems like not a big deal. Left tackle, right tackle. But if you really know football and the economics of football, it is a big deal. And so that tells you probably as much as anything that you need to know about Kenyon Green is he says, hey, if Jameer's better on the left side, then I'm fine with going to the right side. And that there's not a lot. I mean, there's a bunch of guys at Texas A&M who've been really good guys, really good teammates, really good players that stayed around just to play left tackle. Jake Matthews, Cedric Obuehi, I think. Why can't I think of his name? The other big guy right after Obuehi, that was the 32nd pick in the draft by the Seattle Seahawks. Why can't I think of his name?
Dalton, help us.
Starts with
Jermaine.
Affetti.
Affetti, there
Thank
we go.
you. You know, guys that played other positions and worked their way to left tackle. so they could get drafted higher. And here's Kenyon Green. I think we all know that this will be his final season at Texas A&M. And he said, yeah, go ahead, put me at right tackle. That says so much.
That does say a lot. Now, I don't be surprised if we see him a little bit at left as well, if that were to happen, because you've got to play him in not that they're going to switch him up in the middle of a game. I don't mean it like that. But there's could be games or weeks where we could see. But I think they like to have the consistency of the offensive line. So we'll have to say, and I'm looking at the lineup that Billy had out there, and it's pretty much the names that we would expect, with Luke Matthews obviously going back to practice and being there at center. If he can stay healthy, that is a strong group.
I'll say this. They'll be running right a lot.
Why wouldn't they, right?
With Green and Layden Robinson on the right side, I'd be running to my right quite a bit.
All right, it is now time for our 21 and 21 presented by Factory Builder Stores, celebrating over 30 years as the largest contract distributor in Texas. Factory Builder Stores can service builders and general public with locations throughout Texas, including right here in College Station on Old Welborn Road and Rock Prairie, just on the west side of the railroad tracks. Go see our friends Jason and John. They're going to take very good care of you and with all your appliance needs. I'm actually using them on the house that we're building out there in Greens Prairie Reserve, so we're really excited about what they are going to be providing for us. But with that, it is number 10, Leon O'Neal, and here is Jimbo Fisher breaking down his game.
Well, I mean, he has a chip on his shoulder. A lot of guys do. But the one thing about Leon, you always know he loves ball. No matter what, how Leon, whatever tangent he goes off, I always tease him whatever he talks. But at the end of the day, one thing is for sure. And it's not by word of mouth. It's by what his actions are. His workouts in the off season, his workouts during the season, him on the field, his energy level, his competitiveness. I mean, the one thing about Leon, he loves ball. It means a lot to him. It's very important to him. It's a priority, and that's a thing Leon has done a good job of, though. He loves ball. He keeps that chip on his shoulder. He wants to be a great teammate and do the things he had to do.
I think that was the thing that I watched I don't know if you saw the documentary. It's on Netflix about the brawl in the palace.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, there's a new one that came out on Netflix
okay.
within the last week, and it's fantastic. I gravitate towards certain types of players, and Leon is the kind of player that I gravitate toward, that I like. Other than being crazy, I loved Ron Artest, and I love Ben Wallace. I like people who just bring a certain level of intensity to the game. And sometimes they play a little dirty. Not saying that Leon does, but those guys at times were known for that. Even Draymond, as I've mentioned in the past. I like people who can talk and back it up. Leon O'Neal is that kind of guy, and his name on Twitter says that I'll wake him up. He's trying to wake up the rest of college football on Texas A&M as a school. When you see Leon and his work ethic and how he has grown the last couple of years, what do you see?
I just see a really good football player that he's emotional. He plays with his heart. Mm-hmm. And I love that about him. I don't know that there's a bigger fan of Leon O'Neal than me, because it's important. Just like Jimbo Fisher said, he's not out there just trying to get to work his way into the NFL. He really wants to win for Texas A&M. I believe that, and I just he gets a lot of criticism because he likes to talk. Well. DBs talk. I mean, it's just
all of them.
It's just the fact of life. And he's gotten beat a couple times, and I think people go back and see how he got beat against by Kadarius Toney against Florida. Well, you know what? That's a first round pick, but it happened right after he picked up a penalty. Well, he picked up that penalty, if you remember, because he was retaliating at a guy that cheap shotted DeMarvin Leal.
Correct.
So had he kept his wits about him, he doesn't get the 15-yard penalty. But at the same time, if you're going to get that penalty, don't you want it from a guy that's protecting his own guy? Not that DeMarvin needs a lot of protection.
But it's that mindset, right? You love them for it, and you also cringe at it at certain points. But that's what those players do to get to that level, to play with that chip, to play with that anger. It makes them who they are. Without that, they're not the same player. They need that fire, and sometimes it costs them, and sometimes it's exactly what you need in a big moment. I got my guys back. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Leon is like a guard dog. He's a good watchdog. You don't have to worry about anybody coming around. You're going to know if somebody tries to get in the house, he's going to bite them. But he's going to go out and dig a hole in the yard, and it's going to drive you crazy. And why can't you stop digging the? Well, I love you for what you do. I'm just a little bit annoyed at some of your habits. But when someone's trying to get into the door, when someone's going deep on you, going across the middle,
who you want.
That's who I want. And here's a guy that had he's a good tackler. He had 48 tackles last year from a safety position. He led I think he led the Aggies with 2 interceptions. I think he had about 3 or 4 pass breakups. I mean, he's a productive player. He's a playmaker. Things happen, and usually good things happen when he's out there. Is he going to get beat sometimes? Sure he is. So did Jalen Jones. So did Miles Jones. Sometimes you're going to get beat. But Leon O'Neal is going to go out there, and he's going to play with everything he has on every play, and that's why I like him.
One of the things that I loved about him recently, just a month ago, whenever we were in Hoover, however long ago that was, he was one of the first when people were running left and right about Texas and OU coming to the SEC, and there was a lot of complaining and a lot of what are we going to do? Leon was one of the first ones to tweet about it and welcoming it, and I pulled up some of the notes he put out there on his. Here it is. Potential playoff team snubbed. Finished number 4 in the country. Dominated the SEC-only schedule. 9-1, finished number 1 in defense in the SEC, top 10 in the country, Orange Bowl champion. Now tell me who's scared? Stop acting confused like our foundation isn't strong. He was welcoming it. Like, hey, you guys think we're scared of this? No. You're reading this wrong. Let's go to battle.
I knew I liked Leon O'Neal when he was a freshman who I don't know if he just committed or he's signed. So he's still actually in high school. And he starts carrying on a Twitter war with Darius Geis. And at that time, Geis was considered probably the best running back in college football. And, he was carrying on a Twitter war with him. And, that takes some cojones. And I love that about Leon O'Neal. Do I love that that sometimes he gets a penalty for getting a little too
amped up?
Amped up. Yeah. I wish that didn't happen. But, and did he make some bust early in his career? Yeah, he does.
He has
sometimes.
Grown, though. He has grown so much. Can you remind me, because I was not around, I remember when he had tweeted about the transfer portal, I think it was, January of 2020? Yeah. But he never entered it, right?
I think he might have entered it and then
backed
out. He was frustrated. I don't know if he thought he was going to lose his starting job. It was after that or maybe it was a sophomore year when he was catching some criticism and I think again there was some question about his future and he was going to I think he felt that it was best for him to move on, and then he's emotional, and I guess once he settled down he said, I'm just going to go to work. And that's another thing. If you're following that guy on Twitter, that guy will put in the work.
He does. And some people why does he always post it? He holds himself accountable. That using social media, this generation, they use that to hold themselves accountable. Like every time, this morning you went for a run on your treadmill. You didn't post it on your social. No. That's not your thing. And tonight when you do your 3-a-days, you're not going to post it. No. But that's how this group, this generation holds themselves accountable, because they have to continue that. And he puts in the work. And if you watch those videos, they are he's not just checking the box, I hit the gym. No. He's hitting the gym hard.
Yeah. With the exception of an occasional bust, which I think those are few and far between now. And, his tendency to get himself in trouble with his emotion, which is not few and far between. He does everything else the way you'd want. He works out hard. He plays hard. He loves his team. All the things that you want in a player. And everybody can't be perfect. Mike Evans, I thought, was almost a perfect football player. He didn't say a lot, but he worked hard. He played hard, and it mattered to him. And Leon, with the exception of not saying a lot, is the same guy.
Kind of guy.
Plays hard. He works hard. It's important to him. Man, don't you want that from your football player?
I do. I 100% do, and I'm excited to have him around this year and see where his game goes, because I think there was a lot of improvement last year. We'll see how it goes. All right, so we will continue to discuss. You and I haven't really broken it down. Which Aggie newcomer are you most excited about? If you want to be a part of that conversation, text the A&B text line, 979-693-1150, or you can call our BCSI hotline, 979-693-1150. We'll have that and more here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
I'm Chelsea Reber with your community calendar on The Zone. Hundreds of books geared to young readers will be on sale Saturday, August 28th at the Claire B. Mounts Library in downtown Bryan. Doors open to members of the Bryan College Station Friends of the Library at 9 a.m. and to the general public at 10 a.m. Loss of a Spouse is a free seminar on Sunday, August 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Peace Lutheran Church. Email rhonda@peacelutheranbcs.org for more information. Trail Life USA Troop 1836 is hosting an open house on Tuesday, August 31st. Find Trail Life Troop 1836 on Facebook for more information. Help the Brazos Valley Food Bank bring hope to the table. Go online to bvfb.org. Do you love Aggie football? Then join the Liucci Hour, powered by King Ranch Saddle Shop, live from the tap every Monday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Stop by for dinner and a drink or listen on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. I'm Chelsea Reber on The Zone.
There's a Kubota for every job. There's a Kubota for every harvest. There's a Kubota for every task. And at Normandy Tractor, for a limited time only, take the drive to Normandy, Texas, and let Vernon and the boys show you what they have. Get the new Kubota BX 1880 16.6 horsepower tractor and a Kubota loader with a quick attach bucket now through December 31st, 2021. For a cash price of only $12,950, or payments as low as $170 per month. With no money down, based on 0% down, 1.99% APR for 84 months. Normandy Tractor has over 8 acres of Kubota tractors, Kubota RTVs, ATVs, and Kubota mowers to choose from. They're at the corner of Highway 39 and OSR in Normandy, Texas. And remember, nobody beats Normandy Tractor. Nobody.
Now through December 31st, 2021. For warranty terms, see Kubota's limited warranty at KubotaUSA.com or your Kubota dealer.
This is ESPN Radio.
Head coach Mike Boynton, Oklahoma State basketball.
Immense talent, work ethic that's been unmatched by any other kid I've coached.
Talking to Matt Nagy right now, the head coach of the Chicago Bears.
When I say the room is healthy, Andy Dalton is doing everything he possibly can to help Justin.
Charles Haley, Pro Football Hall of Famer.
I always believe that the fans, they're the ones that paid my salary. I always felt like I owed them something.
Talking to Pat Connaughton right now, NBA champion.
The talking head saying it can't be done, Giannis has to leave. It just makes it that much sweeter in the end.
Rams head coach Sean McVay.
Some of the most difficult parts of playing the quarterback position are really where he illustrates what a special player he is.
Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson.
It's a partnership. Now the players can decide if 2 or 3 want to get together. Years ago, owners could stop that.
Played the tight end position for the Green Bay Packers, Jermichael Finley.
If you got a guy saying, I'm not taking that shot, guess what that looks like? Oh, we ain't got a team player here.
ESPN Radio, weeknights and weekends on Sports Radio 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. The Zone.
The YouTube jams, bringing it. I'm actually looking at the chat on YouTube. Tony Love says, O'Neal reminds me of Danny Rojas on Ted Lasso, Football is Life. Yeah, I know you haven't watched Ted Lasso.
No.
I think you don't have to be a soccer fan to like that show. I think you would like it. I'm just saying it. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's fantastic. It's about a former college football coach somehow gets a job in England to coach a team in the Premier League. And he's just, what's the name of the actor? Jason Sudeikis. He's great.
Oh, yeah. He's a funny guy.
And he plays like this happy-go-lucky kind of coach, and he brings this like charm and just excitedness to the pitch. And he doesn't know anything about soccer, but he knows how to coach people. And it's just it's a good show. I would highly recommend it if you have not watched it. And yes, if you're anti-soccer, still watch it. It is fantastic. Dalton, have you watched it?
I've watched a part of the first season, and then my Apple TV subscription lapsed. I want to watch it. I enjoyed it.
Well, I was reminded yesterday by my children. Every time we drive by Dalton's place and Richard's place, they're like, there's Mr. Dalton's place. There's Mr. Richard's place. He lives right across the street. So we need to have those guys over and see what it's like to have 4 kids in the house and, men in their 20s hanging out with us.
5 kids and me. Richard's a child.
He's one of the kids, too. I forget about that. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. I am with my buddy Olin Buchanan for the Go Hour, and in OB we had that topic to start the show that I want to get into here. Which Aggie newcomer are you most excited about, or you see something that really intrigues you? There's a lot of potential out there with young offensive linemen that may find a way into the lineup at some point. We could be talking. I was very intrigued by Keith Brown. You mentioned to me Jimbo's track record of not really playing the younger wide receivers, which I think is totally fair. But what I see out there is there's a guy that if they needed him, he's ready to roll. Who intrigues you? Who are you excited about?
I would say Bryce Foster because he has the ability, I think, to obviously physically he's ready to go. And that's always the biggest issue with offensive linemen. Well, it's not an issue with him. Physically, he's ready to go. He's enormous. He's powerful. He could come in and play guard if you need him to. He could play center, I think, if you needed him to. And I believe that, those are some positions where health is a question. And, if you have to start juggling guys around, what if the feeling is you need to move, say, Akinola Gumbi out to tackle because he did play some there at the right side in the spring. Who you going to start at guard? Well, it could be Bryce Foster there. Jimbo Fisher has shown us that he doesn't mind starting a freshman in the offensive line. He did, if he's really good. He did with Kenyon Green. So I think Bryce Foster is the guy that I would look at. He's he's so physically imposing. He's so big and he's so powerful.
He's a house. He's legit a house.
He really is that guy that looks like the box that a refrigerator comes in,
Yep.
Like he could fit in there.
You remember those shows back on ESPN back in the day, like The World's Strongest Man? And, and they looked a certain way. It's not a bodybuilder look. It's more of a I'm just a stronger human being than anybody around, and I can move a tow truck.
Massive humanity.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. I mean, he's the old line, he's standing on the corner by himself and the cop comes up and says, "Break it up." That's kind of how big this guy is. So I think that he's a guy that could come in at an area where there's some question marks and play. I can understand if you say Shamar Turner. I can understand if you say Tamisi Adelie. I can even understand if you say L.J. Johnson. But is L.J. Johnson, who may be amazing.
He looks, every time I see him on the field, my eyes go to him. He's up there.
Is he going to force Isaiah Spiller off the field? Is he going to force Devon Achane off the field? Shamar Turner, I would not be surprised if he plays quite a bit this year. But is he going to force McKinley Jackson or Isaiah Rakes or Jaden Peavy out of that rotation? How much is he going to play? Provided everybody's healthy. Same with Adelie.
Your thinking here is more like, these guys may be impressive and they're probably going to be great contributors, but you're talking about in the short term, who could you see
who could actually
on the field?
Playing a lot on the field? And it comes to Bryce Foster, who's just happens to be an enormous guy that's physically ready.
How nice of it, too, to have a guy that you could use. But if things go as planned with the offensive line, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
But
bring him along slowly.
But if you need to, you're not going to drop off either because you know what kind of talent and ability he has.
Well, I think that's an example of how well that they've recruited. It was, just 2 years ago? Was it just 2 years ago that they at one time started 6 true freshmen in one game? Maybe 7 in one game. Because I think that was the game they started the Brian Williams at safety.
Yep.
Maybe it was against Mississippi State. But that's how many true freshmen were playing. We're starting 6 or 7. So that's more than a quarter of your starting lineup were true freshmen. Well, now you're to the point where you're saying we might start a true freshman, but we probably don't have to. Shamar Turner might be great at end or tackle, but we're great at end or tackle.
We're good.
So we can play him when we want to, not because we have to. And I think that's even the case with Bryce Foster as long as everybody's healthy. That's the case with L.J. Johnson. In most years here, L.J. Johnson would be looking to start right away.
Yeah.
Except that now A&M might have the best running back in the country, maybe one of them, and definitely has the fastest in the country. So it doesn't mean LJ won't come in and play a lot. And they even have DeAndre Jackson, who I think is really good. So you just go up and down that list of guys. Deuce Harmon. There's years where we would have just figured maybe last year we would have said this guy's going to start, but it was Jalen Jones.
It was Jalen Jones, yep. What about a guy like Wyckoff? We could see him getting some
There's another guy who's apparently been getting a lot of work at center, and is he not maybe the least celebrated or one of the least celebrated guys of the offensive linemen that came in here,
And he's a guy that may see time quicker than a lot of them.
Right. Doesn't mean he's not more equally talented. I'm just saying least celebrated.
Yeah, I agree with you on there. He's a name we don't hear enough about. But I think recently we have heard because
he's playing well.
He is playing well, and he's serving a need. But I will tell you, seeing Luke Matthews out there yesterday, I was very intrigued and encouraged. I believe you want, and I think Jimbo wants a veteran running that position because how important it is football up the middle. A guy who's seen it and done it, and a guy with an amazing pedigree. We know what kind of player he can be when healthy. All things are equal. These guys wait a little bit. Luke Matthews plays.
It's amazing what his shoulder means to that offensive line, not just in terms of his productivity, but in who plays where. If his shoulder holds up, then you probably have Akinola Goombi at left guard, Jameer Johnson at left tackle, Layden Robinson, Kenyon Green. But if he has a shoulder problem, then it could end up being, maybe it's just Smart, Chibuzo, or Wyckoff, and you go on. But it might end up being, you start juggling things.
All right, well, more of this here on TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We got a bunch of your text messages we'll get to here in the last segment of the first hour, the go hour as we call it, and we will get to your phone calls as well. A&B text line is 979-693-1150, or the BCSI Associates hotline, 979-693-1150. Which Aggie newcomer are you most excited about? I'll tell you what I'm excited about, hanging out with my buddy Porter Garner. They're the Association of Former Students. I'm going to go see him a little bit later, and he's just cool. Guy speaks Spanish. Guy knows all sports. He's just awesome, and so is the Association of Former Students. They've been around for a long time, over 140 years. Their financial gifts from the Aggie Network have empowered the association to be here, there, and everywhere. I clap when I do it. 125,000 student organizations out there. They've done so much to help out. You've got the Aggie Band for travel, and they've done so much for the academic scholarships to students. None of that possible without your help out there, guys. $100 a year, $9 a month. You get the decal, the plaque, the Texas Aggie magazine. I want to encourage you to give back to the association. It is a very rewarding experience. To learn more about the impact of the association or get involved, make a gift. Visit aggienetwork.com/giving.
Your home for Texas A&M football is Sports Radio 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. The Zone. The Zone. You can hear the Paul Feinbaum Show weekdays 2 to 4 here on The Zone. Presented by Polaris Fun Center. Paul Feinbaum is SEC Country, and Aggieland is SEC Country too. Join Paul weekdays 2 to 4 here on The Zone. Polaris Fun Center sells and service Polaris ATVs, Rangers, Blazers, Global Electric Cars, Brutus, and the Polaris Slingshot. Polaris Fun Center, where they sell and service fun, not tractors. The voice of the SEC. And you can hear Paul Feinbaum weekdays 2 to 4 here on The Zone.
What if one day you went to your secret hiding place? You know, that spot that only you know about? And instead of what you came for, you found something a little different. What if instead of your private stash, you found a simple phone number, 1-800-662-HELP? What would you do? Would you stop and give it some thought? Would you make the call? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before those risks become real, before drugs turn your life upside down, before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use or prescription drug misuse, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/thereishelp.
The Bellucci Hour is back. It is back at the tap every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Join Billy Liucci of TexAgs, TexAgs.com, TexAgs Radio, and the Liucci Cast, along with Zach Taylor, the Infomaniac, and Sports Director of Bryan Broadcasting. Monday, Thursday, 6 p.m. It's the Bellucci Hour, happy hour, and it's all thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Let the Bellucci Hour get you ready for Aggie football 2021.
If you miss TexAgs Radio presented by David Garner's Jewelers, you miss this.
Georgia is the closest to Alabama in terms of look, in terms of a roster. And the next would be A&M. Look, I'm a big believer in what Jimbo. I've seen Jimbo do it time and time again. This is not a program that's currently being constructed to win a big game. It's to build a program to where when you win a big game, you're not storming the field because you won a big game. You want to get the program to the level where people will storm the field when they beat you. And so the solid foundation, which I thought was lacking, even though there was excitement in the early stages of A&M getting in, I think this is more about the solid foundation to where it could withstand changes, because they're going to be changes. The bottom line is, they haven't beat Alabama. Well, not many people have. Not many people have kind of crossed that bridge.
It's TexAgs Radio on the Zone.
I feel like just from everything I've been through, just coming in as a freshman, going from scout team to being a starter and a contributor on the offense last year, and just having the time to reflect. I feel like I'm in a really good place, just taking the time to look back and see what I've done, what I still need to work on. And, I'm just trying to just constantly keep improving.
That is Chase Lane there yesterday at the A&M media availability. As I mentioned at the top of the show, very impressed with his demeanor, his work ethic. It just, I think he's a great player, and it's going to be fun to see him. And all indications are he's even gotten a little faster. It's going to be fun to watch. You're listening to TexAgs and watching TexAgs Radio, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. You can watch us on the YouTube channel. People are on there. You can watch us on TexAgs.com/live. And OB, I know you were impressed with him as well.
I am, but of course I was impressed with the way he played last year. I do think he played with a sore foot. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was against Tennessee, he caught a pass where it could have been South Carolina, but I think it's Tennessee. Catches a pass, spins away, and he goes for about 40 yards. He gets caught from behind. I think he tweeted, if my foot wasn't hurt, they never would have caught me. But you go back and you see what Chase Lane did last year, and I think about that 16-yard catch on 3rd and 9 against Florida that led to a short field goal to win the game. I think about the long touchdown catch against Mississippi State, short pass they turned into a 50-yard touchdown. There was a play he made on 3rd and long against North Carolina in the middle of the field where he has to jump up and catch. He didn't get a lot of catches, but the catches he made
impactful.
It was like playing roulette. You don't always hit a lot of numbers, but when you hit them, you profit 35-1. When you hit with him, it was a big deal. It cashed in.
We still haven't gotten into Connor Wegman. Bronny had a report out that he's going to be graduating early, and we'll see what that means for baseball, what that means for football here moving forward. But before we get into that, let's go to the News and Social Center. There, the A&B text line is popping, and Tori Esprovoa has got the thoughts.
Yes, I have Johnny in Dallas saying, one of the things I am most looking forward to is the twin tight end sets with Kupp and Weidemeyer. When you couple that with the motion from tight end Oraniah Smith, it is going to stress out a lot of linebackers and safeties. So many mismatch combinations and extra blockers for the running game. Tight ends are like knights on a chessboard, completely unpredictable. Jimbo's going to have a field day using those chess pieces.
I agree.
I agree with that. I think Jimbo has said that, he loves the guys that are versatile because it limits what the defense can do as far as matchups, right?
Sure.
So you can go in thinking, they got double tights. We got to, bring in an extra linebacker or something because they're going to run. And then all of a sudden, Baylor Cupp is wide. And you're like, well, I guess we're going to have to call a timeout. But what are you going to do? Because I think he is going to be that kind of tight end that can, that can play wide and, kind of like Kyle Pitts did.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe not that good, but that kind of
style. Yeah.
So he likes guys that are versatile that you could do different things with because the defense doesn't know how to react to the personnel.
And they got it at all positions there, which has been fun to watch. All right, Tori, what else do you have for us?
I have Mike in Chattanooga saying Keith Brown, based on his big play ability at the wide receiver position, added speed will force safeties to be deeper, which will make the running game even better.
What I like is that he is in the conversation because of what we've seen at practice and what the players are noticing about him. The reason I paid even more attention, I've heard people talking about him. I hadn't really paid attention to him at practice. You have to understand, for when we go there, we got different groups and stages that we're watching things, and we're just moving around to try to take as much in as possible. So yesterday, I made it a point to watch him because of what Chase had said about him, what Hez had said about him, and I was impressed. And I do agree with you that this is not a typical Jimbo thing to play a young guy like that, especially when you don't need to, when you have talent at that level. But the fact that he's being discussed made me very intrigued by it.
And he, again, he may be so good that you just got to play him. They did bring Anias in eventually at receiver, but Gabe and I would be up there saying, why don't they throw more to Anias? And then we're showing Georgia, and Kellen's throwing one route, and Anias is running a different one. He was like, okay, that's why.
That's why. It takes time to absorb it. All right, OB, thank you so much for joining us. All right, guys, the next hour, we're going to be loaded and busy. We've got, let's see, I'm looking at the wrong date. That's embarrassing. We have Alex Kirshner from Split Zone Duo, also Slate. He's going to be joining us. Adam Rittenberg from ESPN also joining us here at the top of the hour. He's been all over this alliance that's being discussed out there. What's going to happen with the ACC and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten? We'll talk about that with Adam Rittenberg here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And then, of course, Billy Liucci in studio for the 10 o'clock hour. It is going to be a loaded show. And tomorrow, Schloss joining us. So we got all that and much more here on the show.
Our publications reach every corner of the Brazos Valley, and we want to partner with you in sharing your message with the community. You may recognize a few of our Bryan Broadcasting publications.
Best of the Brazos Valley.
Brazos Life, the annual manual.
Welcome home, Brazos Valley.
Brazos Family. Brazos Wellness.
Brazos Valley Bride.
Peace, Brazos Christian Life.
With the combined power of 7 magazine titles, 11 radio stations, and digital solutions, Bryan Broadcasting Publications can help you be heard. Call 979-695-9595 to learn more.
When your diesel truck or construction equipment needs DEF, WPI has the best price in town. Only $8.50 for 2.5 gallons. Regardless of your machine's make or model, WPI can help. From custom hydraulic hoses, O-rings to teeth, buckets and blades. Any part, filter, fluid, battery, or lighting is at your local WPI. Visit Jesse James at WPI's new location in Bryan, Highway 21 east at Marina Road, or click WPI.com.
This is Aggieland's home for Aggie football, Aggie basketball, and Aggie baseball. Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Plus online at RadioAggieland.com. This is KZNE College Station, Bryan.
From WTAW, I'm Chelsea Reber with a news update on the Zone. A unanimous College Station City Council at its last meeting approved the fiscal year 2022 budget, property tax rate, and fee schedule. Mayor Carl Mooney cited the construction of the new water tower along the freeway as one example of capital projects that are needed for a growing city.
I was on a call today with the developers of the Midtown area. Do you know that they just broke ground for a 260-plus unit multifamily housing unit? How are they going to get the water that they need? Baylor Scott & White wants to expand. They're going to need more water.
College Station's property tax rate remains the same, as does electric rates, as long as the state does not change rules due to last February's winter storm. Brazos County property owners for the second year have received a postcard regarding property tax information. This is the first year similar postcards were sent by smaller counties surrounding Brazos County, as well as the rest of the state. Brazos County Tax Assessor Collector Christy Rose says to follow the specific instructions on the postcard to access the free information in order to avoid being directed to websites that want to charge you for the information. Brazos County's health authority and officials of Baylor, Scott and White, and St. Joseph hospitals are holding a news conference this afternoon at 2:30, which you can hear on WTAW. While the update comes the day before school starts in Bryan and College Station ISD, the last 3 state reports indicate COVID patients make up 24 to 25% of hospitalizations in the BCS region, and no ICU beds are available. A Bryan man admits to being what a Brazos County assistant district attorney describes as a domestic abuser. A plea agreement includes prison time for 36-year-old Taryn DeVault. He has been in jail since July of last year when he was arrested for firing a gun in the direction of the brother of the victim of the domestic violence. DeVault was sentenced to 25 years for firing the gun and 20 years for family violence assault with a prior conviction. I'm Chelsea Reber on The Zone.
Hi, this is Jeff Vanderwood with Veribank. Veribank is continuing to grow in the Brazos Valley with a brand new full-service banking center on Highway 6 in front of Academy. We have a team of genuine bankers specializing in personal and business banking, wealth management, and investor real estate lending ready to serve you. Veribank is here to help you succeed financially, and you can bank on it.
Visit verabank.com today. That's VERA bank.com. Verabank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Good morning, sports fans. I'm Zach Taylor with your Aggie Sports Minute on The Zone. The Sports Minute is brought to you by Hilco Metal Roofing and Supply. Call 936-825-0500 or click hilcosupply.com. Much like last year, COVID-19 continues to loom over the upcoming football season. Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher was asked how his team is looking as far as vaccination rates.
We're extremely high right now. We're in the mid-80s or so, higher, working in our rate, and doing a really good. Guys are doing a pretty good job. But you have to say, well, we're not 100, but that's not me. That's for everybody's individual choice. But we're in a very good situation.
And with a year under the belt, do you feel like everyone's kind of into the system with the mitigation?
Well, that's what we are. We're saying, listen, these are protocols. You have to live by them. We have to be with them. We have to do the things we got to do, and it's like the new normal. And guys have adapted to it and seem to be doing a great job with it.
Of course, Fisher and the Aggies missed last year's game against Ole Miss due to COVID protocols. Hopefully they won't face any speed bumps this season. For more insight into fall camp, tune into the Liucci Hour tonight from 6 to 7 right here on The Zone. Out on the soccer pitch, the 9th-ranked Aggies pulled away from Baylor last night 2-0 in an exhibition at Ellis Field. Mia Pante and Anderson Williams found the net for the Maroon and White, who improved to 1-0-1 in the preseason. Their official season opener will be this Thursday when they visit top-ranked Florida State. And that's been your Aggie Sports Minute, brought to you by Hilco Metal Roofing and Supply. On The Zone, I'm Zach Taylor.
The fall edition of the Louis Bellina Show starts on Monday, August 23rd, and well, I would know. What does the fall edition even mean? The return of Cedric Golden of the Austin American Statesman at 12:05. Mitch Light of The Athletic, 12:05. Braden Gall of 440 Sports, 12:05. And Bryce Jones, well, he's still here at 12:05. The gang gets together for another football season. Listen in weekdays 11 to 2 right here on The Zone.
Welcome back, TexAgs Radio, hour number 2, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Having a good old time here, breaking down what we've seen through 1 week of camp. But there's a lot of news going on in college football. And I think it was Friday when the news broke about the alliance that is being discussed out there with the ACC and the Big Ten and Pac-12. I've been following Adam Rittenberg's work there, the senior writer of college football for ESPN. He's been all over the place, and I've heard him on XM as well, and he now joins us here on TexAgs Radio. Adam, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Diego. How you doing?
Doing wonderful, my friend. So just kind of bring us up to speed how this whole thing is possible and what is being discussed. Just kind of bring our viewers back into what is happening at the moment.
Sure. Well, after the SEC made its obviously power move, adding Texas and Oklahoma, I think the other leagues were wondering, how do we counteract that? There's obviously an attempt to consolidate power in the SEC. And I think those commissioners are always in touch, relatively new commissioners in all three leagues. And they started some at least kind of informal discussions, but there have been some in-person meetings. Kevin Warren of the Big Ten and George Kliavkoff of the Pac-12 were together in California last week for the Rose Bowl meetings. All three commissioners, I was told from sources, met in Chicago last week as well. So there's discussions here. And I think there's a feeling that instead of just full-blown expansion and maybe poaching one another's leagues, can we work together to create something that works for everyone and ideally generates revenue? Because we know the SEC revenue is going to continue to go up. How can those three leagues, one that's in a very good place revenue-wise in the Big Ten, and other two that are in decent places but need to improve going forward in the ACC and Pac-12, can they improve overall as a group by doing something strategically with scheduling and maybe some other key areas, other key topics going on in the sport?
Is it realistic, though, to be honest? Like, I see it's a lot of teams getting involved and getting on the same page. And is this a realistic proposal?
Well, I think it's certainly realistic in terms of the discussions. And I think if they can reach a point where there's significant revenue that would be generated from this strategy, then I think it is very real. I don't know if all three leagues are in the same place in terms of interest and ready to go forward with something. But I was told even this morning that there's athletic directors that are kind of on a mini council or mini alliance within the leagues that are having those discussions. So it is, I think there's a feeling that they need to do something, that they need to be proactive, and that they need to be talking amongst themselves, especially because I think a lot of the institutions in these three conferences see themselves very similarly. Certainly the Big Ten and Pac-12 have had a long-term connection through the Rose Bowl. And then I think there's a lot of similar schools in the ACC to both of those schools. Adam
Rendenberg with us here from ESPN, breaking down the potential alliance out there on the BCSI hotline. So, Adam, if we were to kind of play this through, what does this mean for potentially the Big 12 or whatever they're called now, the Big 8, whatever they are, moving forward?
Well, I think the discussion for the playoff is going to be fascinating, especially as they have that important meeting at the end of September here in Chicago. When that proposal came out, it was very much, I think, driven from what I was told by Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, as well as Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick. Those two entities, so to speak, would benefit very greatly from an expanded playoff. But they came out with a proposal before they really had, I think, substantial discussions with the other interested parties, the other stakeholders here. And I think that's why, especially after the expansion from the SEC side with Texas and OU, there's a desire to have more of a seat at the table, to have that discussion, and to put their viewpoints forward. We don't know fully where the Big Ten and the ACC and the Pac-12 stand on these things. We know George Kliavkoff, the Pac-12 commissioner, advocates some type of an expanded playoff, but maybe not this one. And so that's why I think it's going to be fascinating to see where it goes. We could still get to 12. We could still have a very similar proposal to the one that came out a few months ago. But I think it's important that those other leagues have a say and maybe be aligned in their position on what they think should happen with an expanded playoff.
Do you think if the ACC has some true serum, they would rather have an alliance with the SEC, or would they rather just stay as far away as possible?
An alliance with the SEC?
Yes.
Well, I think there's some natural connections with the ACC and the SEC, through history, right? I mean, you have South Carolina and Clemson, and Georgia Tech, and Florida State that play games every year. But I think from an institutional perspective, there's a lot more similarities between the ACC and, say, the Big Ten. Kind of high-level private schools, members of the Association of American Universities, which the Big Ten has all but one school as a member of. A lot of the Pac-12 schools are part of that as well. So I think, again, people need to remember this isn't a decision that's being made by coaches or media or ADs. It's being made by presidents. And I think the presidents feeling connections with one another in those three leagues, I think, is significant. Not to say there aren't connections between the ACC and the SEC presidents, but I sense that there's more connections between the ACC and, say, the Big Ten presidents.
Adam, do you see, let's just say they'd come to some kind of resolution, come to work together. How does the SEC move forward? Do they try to add more teams, or are they just going to do what they do? And how do you see the SEC moving forward?
I think the SEC is in a great position, right? I mean, I don't see a lot of other additions that add value to their league beyond what they did with Texas and Oklahoma. You could certainly look to, like, Clemson and Florida State, for example, are great teams, at least Clemson is right now, but I don't know if they necessarily bring in a lot more money to the conference. You already have a presence in that part of the country, especially with Florida already in the league, and even South Carolina and Georgia is very close to Clemson. Clemson's not this like Ohio State, type of huge alumni national brand. They're a good football team, but they don't make that same type of impact that adding a Texas or an Oklahoma makes. So I don't think the SEC has to do a whole lot more. I know people have talked about the Super League as maybe an end game for Greg Sankey in the SEC, but I think especially if there's some pushback from the other conferences, I don't think the SEC needs to do anything but renegotiate its next media deal and bring in a lot more revenue, because that's what the league has positioned itself to do after making these additions.
Adam, how quickly do you think Texas and OU do end up joining the SEC officially? Do you think it's, now that we've had a couple weeks to kind of let this just be a story, do you think it's going to be 2023, 2022, or are we going to have to wait out till 2025?
I'd be stunned if we have to wait until 2025. That's a long divorce before you actually split. But I think those remaining Big 12 schools who are clearly unhappy and having to look at their future finances need to collect what's theirs. And so it's just a matter of what is the number and when is that payout going to happen, so that the remaining Big 12 schools can be whole financially, and then Texas and OU can move on. Because I do think it's best for everybody for that split to happen sooner than later, but you have to make the finances work. And the Big 12 schools have every right to dig in and demand every cent that they feel like they're owed from Oklahoma and Texas based on the current media contract and the current agreements, the bylaws in the conference.
What about Notre Dame? What do you think their future is?
This is really fascinating because, other than, I think, Greg Sankey, Notre Dame Commissioner Jack Swarbrick was the biggest driver of the proposed 12-team playoff. And it makes sense, right? But Notre Dame right now has 4 at-large spots to compete for every year. It would go to 6. Even though those auto bids would be in place, they would have more opportunities to get into the playoff, even though they never get a bye. I think they look at that as a win. If they can be part of the playoff most years, and they should, if they continue on the current trajectory, that's a win. However, I think this alliance, if it does come to pass, will be really interesting because Notre Dame already has a relationship with the ACC, being a member in every sport but football. They play 4 or 5 ACC teams a year as part of that agreement. And then their other non-conference games mostly are against Pac-12 or Big Ten schools. So you have to wonder, if this alliance happens, do those leagues say to Notre Dame, okay, you can have your independence, but you're basically going to be playing teams in our 3 leagues. You can keep Navy because that's a historic rival outside the league. But this is how we're going to make money off of you, Notre Dame. You need to play us. Don't play the SEC. Don't play the Big 12, what's left of the Big 12. Play USC and Stanford and Clemson and Florida State and Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, because those are games when you're going to market and renegotiating your media rights package, that's going to be attractive to ESPN, to Fox, to whoever you're talking to. You want Notre Dame on the schedule as much as possible.
Adam, let's keep it here locally here, Texas A&M College Station. Just your thoughts on what Jimbo's building here, trying to build off that number 4 ranking at the end of last year. And a lot of question marks are out there, but a lot of young pieces as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this team. It feels like it's all kind of culminating for this year, right? I mean, they took a significant step forward last year, and while Kellen Mond's a big loss, and they lost some other good players, they bring back a lot. It feels like, this is the defense Mike Elko has kind of waited for to come together in terms of the recruiting and the development and the depth that they have on that side of the ball. And they have some exciting skill players on offense. I think my question, obviously the quarterback, but also the offensive line, because as you know, Texas A&M has history at the offensive line. It's a place that they've had really good lines in the past. They do lose quite a lot in that group. So how does that come together to protect whoever the quarterback is, and obviously those really good skill players. But I'm excited to watch them this year. I love the receivers. I love their flexibility in the backfield with guys that can do different things. And, just whether they can ultimately get over the hump. And everyone looks to that Alabama game, which is at Kyle Field this year. What an opportunity for Texas A&M and Jimbo to finally take down Saban, and what that would mean for A&M, certainly in the college football playoff race and the SEC West race. It would be seismic. And so they're on a great trajectory. Now, can you take that last step, which has been so difficult for so many teams, especially in the SEC West?
Adam, so much was made about that big contract that Jimbo got when he got here, but now a couple years later, there's folks talking about getting him a new deal and a raise.
Yeah, but this is the problem. As you know, Texas A&M, they have their money and they like to spend it. Let's have results. And the top 5 finish isn't a result. A second place finish in the SEC West is not a result. A conference championship is a meaningful result. A college football playoff is a meaningful result. And ultimately, the only result that should matter for a program like A&M, given its resources, is winning a national championship. So, let's hold off on the money, because they spent their money before. What I want to see, if I'm an A&M fan, is deliver, beat Alabama, win an SEC championship, get us into the college football playoff. Now we'll maybe talk about a new contract, because they are under no obligation to do anything at this point.
So do you see the SEC West as Alabama and A&M and potentially LSU? Is that how you see it breaking down?
Yeah, I mean, LSU is such an interesting team, right? Because they still have quite a few players left over, at least that were young, from the national title team. Last year, it felt like everything went wrong for them. They've had obviously quarterback injury already in the preseason with Miles Brennan. We'll see if Max Johnson is as good as he was late last season. And then they have all these coaching staff changes on both sides of the ball, new coordinators. But they have talent there. As you know, they recruit well. They have a lot of future NFL guys. It's whether they can sort of come together enough and really be that third challenger in the SEC West. And then, there's a lot of good teams as well. I think Ole Miss is a good team. Arkansas was an improved team. But in terms of actually having a chance to win the division, I think it's going to come down to Alabama and A&M.
Adam, we appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks so much for doing it. I'd love to do it again.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, it'd be great to be back. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Adam Renberg, ESPN, here on the BCSI hotline. We appreciate his time. Really good insight, and love catching up with what's happening there with the Big Ten, with the ACC, and the Pac-12, excuse me. It's just a very intriguing time in college football and how things are shaking up, and the SEC is like, you guys do whatever you got to do, but we're going to do what we do, and you're going to adjust to what we do. Thank you, Mr. Sankey, for that. All right, guys, when we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we're going to talk a little Kellen Mond. He did play this weekend. I saw some of the highlights. I was not able to watch the game, but I saw a compilation online, and we'll kind of break down what we saw from Kellen, and maybe we'll continue breaking down things here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
This is The Zone. Aggieland's all sports station.
If you have a debit card, you're used to spending money. But what if your card actually ended up earning you money? That's not exactly normal, but that's what you can get at A&B. It's called Kasasa Cashback Checking. Don't mind the weird name. What you need to know is that it's a free account with cash rewards. Use your debit card for everyday purchases, and we'll pay you cash back every month. If that doesn't sound like normal banking, well, guess what? We're not a normal bank. So contact A&B today and ask for Kasasa or visit ANB.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Grab your first cup of coffee weekday mornings with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Powered by WC Tractor here on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Plus, online at RadioAggieland.com. WC Tractor is your local, award-winning Kubota and New Holland dealer. You have questions? Look them up online or at WCTractor.com. That's WCTractor.com. You can also call with your questions at 1-888-8-TRACTOR. That's 1-888-8-TRACTOR. ESPN Radio. Powered by WC Tractor here on The Zone.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. Don't look back and wish that you had taken action. Call 833-8-ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
People join Walk MS to raise awareness and funds that change the world for everyone affected by multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the brain and spinal cord. It's the most common neurological disease leading to disability in young adults. Walk MS brings communities together, creating teams with friends, loved ones, and coworkers to rally around those we care about and end MS forever. Join us. Together we are stronger. Walk MS fundraising accelerates research breakthroughs and life-changing breakthroughs. It will take all of our passion, determination, and fundraising to end MS forever. Together, we can change the world for people with MS. Join us. Register today, start a team, and raise funds at walkms.org.
The best is yet to come in College Station.
Chase Lane is in for a touchdown! Yes!
Head coach Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies are ready to rise to the top of the SEC.
Swing to Anias, he's in the end zone, a 6-yard reception.
Join us Saturday, September 4th. It's the season opener versus the Kent State Golden Flashes on your home for Aggies football, the Texas A&M Sports Network. Listen to Aggie football on 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. Online at radioaggieland.com or tell your smart speaker to play Zone 1150.
Definitely a good experience. Definitely good to get my feet wet. Definitely a lot of things I can clean up. Tomorrow we get an off day. Watch the film. Be a big critic of myself and understand what I can do better. In every asset of the game and continue to grow.
That is Kellen Mond there. He went 6 of 16, 53 yards, a quarterback rating of 47.1. He rushed for 5 times for 25 yards. Some of the feedback from Mike Zimmer, not the greatest, but he was kind of difficult with the entire Minnesota team, so we'll talk about that. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And part of what I enjoy, by the way, we're going to speak with ESPN's Courtney Cronin, who covers the Vikings full-time, and she's also a host on ESPN, but she's going to be joining us later on in the week to talk a little bit about what she has seen from Kellen, there at practice. So we'll talk about that. But one of the things that Mike Zimmer did say was he was okay. I didn't like when he tried the shovel pass ball to whoever it was on the third down play. He used his legs a couple of times. He has to just get to moving a little bit quicker. Everything is in slow motion with him. He's going to have to improve that. And that's the thing about the NFL. The decision-making, it's such a split second. We talked a little bit about A&M and the wide receivers and learning that playbook and how it takes a while to absorb it and to pick it up. And we see that all the time at the collegiate level. But imagine taking it up a notch there in the NFL, and it's going to take time. Now, most people believe that Kellen is going to be the backup quarterback there behind Kirk Cousins, and it'll take some time for him to eventually become the starter. But that is the hope and the plan there to get him there to being the guy. I'm just happy he went there, not the Texans. As a longtime Texans fan and reporter and whatnot, that is just, especially at this point in their franchise, just a joke of an organization. And I think Minnesota throughout the years has done a very good job. They haven't been great, but they have done a very, very good job. You saw Case Keenum do really good work there. They've had a lot of quarterbacks. I hope that Kellen is the man there for a very long time, but he did a little bit of everything in his debut. Minnesota as a team overall did not look good at all. They just did not look good whatsoever. And, so Zimmer was already in a bad mood when he was there. So that, so when he started asking about Kellen, and Kellen, by the way, if you guys saw it was a little weird because Zimmer had earlier in the week, let's see if I can find the quote, but he basically said that he wasn't expecting for Kellen to play at all. And then when he played, they said, hey, but I thought you said he wasn't going to play. He's like, I never said that. But he did play. In fact, here's the quote. I never said that. Somebody said, is it possible he'll play? And I said, yes, he was always going to play. But if you look at the original quote, he was like, no, Kellen is not going to play. And, obviously he had to miss some time with the COVID protocols and whatnot. But good to see him out there on the field. We're going to try to go through a lot of the Aggies. The Texans obviously had have a couple as well, and what their contributions were, the new ones, Buddy and whatnot there in Pittsburgh. And so we'll be breaking that down throughout the week. But exciting to see Kellen out there and play in a game. That QBR does not look good. But, hey, first time out there in the NFL, playing with a lot of guys who aren't going to be playing in the NFL. Props to you, my friend. Did get a question that came in about AAU. Why do people do that? And I guess my response to that is it's what everybody does when you're playing high-level basketball. So the same question has been asked to me about 7-on-7. Why do you do that? Why do you do high-level soccer in these academies? And it's because you're, keeping up with the Joneses a little bit. I think AAU has a different reputation than club soccer around the country. But why do you do it? It's for the ability to play high-level basketball with the best players in the country. There are a lot of issues, though.
Hey, David.
Yes, sir.
This isn't about AAU basketball.
Oh, I sent him a message saying basketball? So what was it about?
I thought this was about the American Alliance of Universities.
Oh, well, what is the event? Duh. Hey, thank you for making me feel like a 2 foot tall. I appreciate that.
Sorry, I'm not very smart, but...
No, I think you are smart. That's the point. I was like, why is he asking me about AAU basketball? I didn't realize that's the alliance that we're talking about. What is the advantage? I think the advantage is having power in numbers with institutions that are aligned in philosophies and what that can do for your TV contract moving forward. Now, for the Big Ten, you don't have to do anything, really. You're in a pretty good place, and I think, but I see the fear of what an embarrassing, I thought he was talking about AAU basketball. I was like, what a weird time to ask me about AAU basketball and the advantages of AAU. That being said, I see the fear in the conferences. Here's the thing, though. With Sankey, he is just shrewd and he's just smart and he's 3 steps ahead of everyone, even if we disagree with it. As a businessman, he's making moves to better the SEC. We may not have agreed with how things played out this summer, but that's what he's trying to do, is put that conference in a different position. And as Adam Rittenberg from ESPN talked about earlier, maybe this Super League concept. But they're fine just staying as is now that they've made this power play. So what you have is the Pac-12 wondering, we're falling out of relevancy, and we've got some name institutions. You've got the ACC saying, look, we've got some brand names as well, but we're falling behind. Other than Clemson, what do we got right now? North Carolina's been okay. Florida State's got a name, but what are we going to do? And the Big Ten, who does have an incredible TV deal, they really don't have to do much. So there you go. So I'm being told that I'm supposed to be talking about something else, the research universities. Dalton, am I all over the place today? Good times. Yes.
Sorry, my assistant producer was not paying attention to turn my microphone on. Yeah, you're a little all over the place.
Yeah, so we're talking about 3 different things. The alliance, which is what they're calling the alliance with the Big Ten. Gotcha. And then we have AAU basketball, and we have the research university. So thank you for the people of bringing back a little bit of normalcy into the radio waves. I do appreciate that. Goodness gracious. David Nuño, Control-Alt-Delete here on the show. As we discussed at the top of the show, the Aggie newcomers were excited about a lot of comments coming in about that. The thing that I am so intrigued by, Olin went with Bryce Foster, I went with Keith Brown. What I am most excited about is the fact that we have names out there, names that can be used this year, but we can wait. Names of guys that have the talent to hit the fields and bring a different dimension. So when I bring up Keith Brown and the long list of other wide receivers who have to get their playing time and will get their playing time and can get their playing time, and I'm watching what Caleb Chapman is doing back returning, what I see from all that is a fact that we have started to build and it's been a couple years in the making, obviously, but now in year 4, the fruits of his labor are being put out there. We are seeing that. And you've got a guy like Keith Brown. You've got the Bryce Fosters. You've got the Wyckoffs of the world, right? You've got these names and talent that can and could contribute this season. But if things go the way we want them to go, You don't have to. You don't have to at all. You can take your time on that. And that's what I'm most excited about. I am so excited to see how this is, that you have players that could absolutely. And would I be surprised if Yokeith Brown is playing midway through the season and contributing? No, but there are a lot of other players with some time and some space in there that to me are going to have to either Yokeith Brown and is going to have to just surpass them 100 miles an hour, or there's going to be some other an injury, not playing well, whatever it may be. But the fact is that you have young guys that can contribute and be big playmakers, and you expect them to do that in the near future. Doesn't have to be this year. But in a perfect world, you kind of wait the L.J. Johnsons of the world, the Yokeith Browns of the world, the Bryce Fosters of the world, the Wyckoffs of the world, Matthew Wyckoff. You wait, but they can contribute. And to me, that is the most intriguing and best part about it. I'm excited to see what they're able to do and what they're going to do. Not what they're able to do, what I expect them to do. That is the bottom line. Is I certainly do expect that we're going to see some young player this year who we did not expect contribute in a major, major way. I want to remind you all to text radio to 900-900 for your chance to win the Big Friday giveaway, courtesy of our friends at Aggieland Outfitters. All right, so I'm going to go in the box, or in the bag. I'm going to pull it out. And I pull it out, and what do we have here? Oh, it's a nice soccer-looking jersey. Look at this. This is the Adidas 2021 soccer jersey, Aero Ready technology. It is real sharp, by the way, guys. You don't even have to like soccer to like this shirt. It's got a powered by moisture-wicking fabric that absorbs the water to help you feel cool, dry, and comfortable. Also made with Prime Green, a performance fabric which contains no virgin or newly created plastic. All right, so think about that for a moment. Let that sink in. Perfect for wearing for soccer games this fall. Support your Aggie soccer team in this jersey. It is awesome, and it's 2021's soccer jersey valued at $44.99. And on August 22nd, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., you'll be hosting a Cars and Coffee event at the University Drive location. The event will be displayed lively with rich automotive Bryan College Station scenes and giving participants a chance to try delicious Rockdale coffee. I love me some coffee. We'll get into that and more here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Reber with your community calendar on the Zone. Hundreds of books geared to young readers will be on sale Saturday, August 28th at the Claire B. Mounts Library in downtown Bryan. Doors open to members of the Bryan College Station Friends of the Library at 9 a.m. and to the general public at 10 a.m. Loss of a Spouse is a free seminar on Sunday, August 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. at Peace Lutheran Church. Email Rhonda at peacelutheranbcs.org for more information. Trail Life USA Troop 1836 is hosting an open house on Tuesday, August 31st. Find Trail Life Troop 1836 on Facebook for more information. Help the Brazos Valley Food Bank bring hope to the table. Go online to bvfb.org. Do you love Aggie football? Then join the Liucci Hour, powered by King Ranch Saddle Shop, live from the tap every Monday and Thursday night at 6 p.m. Stop by for dinner and a drink or listen on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM. I'm Chelsea Reber on the Zone.
Hey, it's David Nuño. Texas known for football, barbecue, and hot summer temperatures. And typically, the hotter the weather, the higher your electricity bill. But with some help from Energy Ogre, a Texas technology company, you can lower your bill by up to 40%. In fact, we signed up 2 years ago, and they saved my family 35%. Energy Ogre will find you the cheapest electricity plan in your area. Manage all future contracts, saving you time and money. Go to EnergyOgre.com and enter code HOWDY for a free month of service. That's EnergyOgre.com to start saving today.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education
and to finish what I started to get my diploma.
Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You can hear Astros baseball on the Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM, plus Gospel 97.3 FM. Astros baseball on Bryan Broadcasting is brought to you by Kelly Burt Dozer. Listen in as the Astros contend for the AL West title. Listen in as the Astros battle for the best record in the American League. Listen in as the Astros contend for another World Series title. Astros baseball on the Zone and Gospel 97.3 FM is brought to you by Kelly Burt Dozer and in part by First Financial Bank.
It is TexAgs Radio. This song is just ridiculously bad. Here, presented by David Garner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We're talking all things A&M and the first week of practice and the alliance that we discussed earlier with Adam Rittenberg, with the Big Ten and ACC and Pac-12 potentially getting together. But we are now joined on the BCSI hotline by Alex Kirshner. You can find his work on Slate, also on the Split Zone Duo podcast, and he's joining us here on the show. Alex, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Hope you hear me okay. I didn't know we were going to be on video today, or I wouldn't have worn orange, but excited to be here.
Hey, buddy, I apologize. Usually when I say Zoom, I should probably follow it up and it's going to be on camera, but thanks for making some time for us here on the program. I know you talked to A&M recently on your podcast, and I just want to kind of go through your thoughts as what you've seen these last 4 years of what Jimbo's been building.
Yeah, from a faraway vantage point and not being an A&M person myself, I think that this is one of the most interesting programs in college football, in part because of how aggressive the program has been about trying to be not just in the big leagues, but in the highest tier of college football, not just on the field, but in kind of making sure you know it by what it spends on football, what it invests in facilities, what it invests in Jimbo Fisher. And, certainly a program that people like me have made fun of. You say 75 million fully guaranteed and all of those jokes that I'm sure are not new to you all at this point. But there's a chance in 2021, certainly, to make all of those jokes stop for a very long time. And I'm interested to see how that unfolds.
Let me ask you about that, because a lot was made about that. But when you're trying to win and bring in a game-changing coach, and I think Jimbo is in that category without a doubt. Now, after him entering his fourth year, do you feel like those jokes were wrong?
I don't know that the jokes are wrong, but I also don't know that A&M was wrong. I think these things can coexist. I think it's okay for A&M to spend more aggressively than anyone else to try to put a national championship program together. And I think it's fine to make jokes about programs that haven't quite done it yet and to make fun of that lightly while understanding that they're still doing what you want as a fan. I think it's okay to make fun of your rivals, make fun of schools that spend a lot of money, but I also can't blame A&M's administration, knowing how badly this fan base wants a championship, for going after it as aggressively as possible. I think it's possible for everyone to be right in this situation.
Yeah, I from an A&M alum, fan, and reporter, I would rather spend money on a Jimbo than keep getting the wrong hire, as we've seen some of our rivals do.
Sure. Yeah, I think if you think you have the right guy, and you're a program like A&M that has ambitions to, again, not just be a contender, but to win national championships and to recruit at the highest level in the sport, this is the kind of person you have to pay for. And obviously there are, Jimbo certainly used some leverage, and some of the things that national media members like myself like to joke about, like about the no buyout if he leaves, but a fully guaranteed deal if you fire him. That might just be a byproduct. I think you're going to get made fun of if you are trying to compete at the highest level of college football and you haven't done it quite yet. So what you have to do is get to the mountaintop.
So do you buy them as a potential mountaintop team this year?
I do. I think that this is not a team that perfectly fits the archetype of recent national champions, given the uncertainty at quarterback. And you all know better than me how that will ultimately shake out at this midpoint of training camp or so. But if the quarterback situation turns out to be even decent, passable, if you can just get some playmaking and a relatively low turnover rate from that position, then I'm not really sure what else is missing for a team to make a run this year. I think it's well timed because Alabama should be, and this is, the silliest thing to ever say on a public forum, should be maybe slightly less than it's been recently, given some of the departing pieces there. So it could be a real up year. I do think it's possible. I wouldn't dismiss national championship hopes out of hand for A&M.
And the offensive line is one of those questions that keeps coming up with A&M, and of course the quarterback as well. But I feel that Jimbo has done such a good job of replenishing, and A&M has been known for their offensive line. When you've got a backfield like they have, just what does that do for a new offensive line and B, new quarterback?
Probably helps quite a bit. I think that I would rather be a new quarterback with A&M skill position weapons and with an offensive line that sort of remains to be seen, but that has been recruited to the nines for years. How many 5 stars has Jimbo staff signed to play offensive line or high 4 stars? It's a lot. And you sort of just trust at some point that they're going to put it together and keep it together, even after a handful of departures. So there are worse situations in which you could be a new starting quarterback with the weight of the world, the expectations of a massive fan base on your shoulders.
We had Adam Rittenberg earlier on the show from ESPN breaking down the potential alliance between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. How do you see that all shaking out?
It's fascinating to watch. I think that it's pretty clear that the ACC and Big Ten and Pac-12 are playing defense. Their discussions about a scheduling alliance or what have you are clearly reactive. I don't think it's something they'd be doing if the SEC weren't aggressively expanding with some of the biggest brands in the sport. I do have questions about how a non-binding or loose scheduling alliance would ultimately hold up, given that, the SEC is able to add these 2 schools and you're all marching to the same drumbeat. Even obviously A&M winds up voting to put Texas and Oklahoma in the league because you have a guiding principle, and that's make a ton of money from television programs and have elite football teams. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten and the ACC have maybe drastically different goals at different points. They might find themselves in a lot of conflict, whether that's on playoff expansion or a potential, FBS or Power 5 breakaway from the NCAA, all kinds of things on which those conferences might not agree, but the SEC seems to be unified. And so I have questions about how well an alliance like that would ultimately hold.
So there's in this area, not that everybody's feeling bad about the Baylors, the TCUs of the world, the Oklahoma States, but there is some question what this means long-term for college football. Where do you see those programs going? Do they team up with the American Athletic Conference? Most indication is the bigger conferences don't want those guys.
Yeah, I don't think that it's good for college football, but I also think that the lens of quote unquote good for college football might be a bit tired at this point because, like what I just talked about, there are so many different stakeholders in the sport who want so many different things that putting them in kind of one bucket as, well, this is going to help the sport or this is going to hurt it might not be very productive. The thing that I don't like about it is that I think it further entrenches even further, and it's already pretty well entrenched, an upper class and a lower class in the sport. It tells a lot of programs that they don't matter. Maybe that's true. Maybe Baylor or Iowa State, you're screwed and sorry, and that's just how it is. But there is something fun and romantic for a lot of people about the idea that you can be upwardly mobile in the sport, even if you're not a big budget power. Iowa State has obviously been trying the last couple of years and doing it somewhat successfully. And I think that just gets harder and harder as things like this happen. And, for a financial benefit for a few schools, certainly. But in the case of like Texas or Oklahoma, these are some of the few athletic departments that don't even need television money to be among the biggest ADs in college football and college sports. These are schools that are fundraising, licensing, attendance juggernauts, and can sort of survive on those terms. I understand why they don't want to. I understand why they want every cent they can get. But that doesn't mean from my perspective that I have to root for it or like it.
We saw A&M obviously not loving the idea of Texas joining the conference for the territorial reasons, the regional reasons. But do you see a world with all this shakeup where Clemson or Florida State or University of Miami is trying to say, you know what, ACC, thanks for playing, but there was that rumor a couple of weeks back that they were investigating the SEC. Do you see that as a possibility here with everything shaken out?
I could see it as a possibility. The issue is that at some point, it gets pretty unwieldy when you make a conference of a certain size. And maybe there's further consolidation that instead of the Power 5, at some point you'd have the Power 3. You'd have the SEC grows, the Big Ten grows, and, maybe some version of the Pac-12 or ACC consolidates. Maybe it's 4, maybe it's 3 power conferences. But one like quote unquote super conference, the way that it's pretty often been described on message boards and on Twitter and on Reddit and the like, it just gets hard because you get a 12-game season. And even if you completely nuke out of conference games, you nuke guarantee games, so you can't play an FCS team anymore because television partners want bigger games, you still run into a problem that there's only so many teams you can play. And at some point, if you have a 24-team conference, but you can only play 12 or 13 teams a year, even if you totally forgot about non-conference games, you run into some sort of odd competitive dynamics there where you've got teams competing for a conference title that never play each other until, perhaps 2 of them get into the conference title game. But you could have multiple undefeated teams in that way. You can maybe have 3 undefeated teams in a conference. And what do you do about that in a sport like college football? So I think there are some competitive balance, complications to work through.
So I noticed that you watched a little bit of soccer, and I brought this up whenever this whole talk was coming up about the Super League in soccer that was proposed by Florentino Perez, how that model could potentially work with college football, where you still have your regular world of college football, but then this other tournament-esque kind of Super League. Could you see that in the next 20 years?
I think it's hard to see until amateurism turns on its head. At some point, you're asking a lot of the athletes who continue to not be paid. And I think you're already asking a lot of the athletes who aren't paid, and all of us have to reckon with that who love this sport. But, if you're going to have an outside kind of cup style competition in college football that goes along with the regular season, well, then how many games are we going to ask these athletes to play? If you're not shortening the regular season, you're not shortening the playoff. Let's say the playoff goes to 12 teams, which might happen slowly, but still seems like it's going to happen. Then you're asking for what, a 20, 21 game season for college football players. And there might be a point where that happens because there's enough money involved to make the stakeholders want to do it. But I think it is hard, especially given some of the political headwinds facing amateurism right now, and the NCAA in particular, to do that without some kind of fundamental change to how players are compensated.
Last thing for you, Alex, what you working on? What's the next big story you're on?
So I'm working on a lot of things. I write a lot of stories for Slate Magazine, but I'd love it if people would check out Split Zone Duo. It's a podcast I co-host with Richard Johnson of the SEC Network and various places, and Stephen Godfrey of Secret Base and various other places as well. We have a Patreon for bonus episodes that a lot of people have subscribed to. We actually did a really fun episode on A&M a couple of weeks ago with Jay Arnold, former defensive lineman for the Aggies, where I sort of interrogated him about Aggie culture and all the things that those of us who follow this program from afar don't know. Was really revealing, really interesting to kind of get an insider's perspective. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this already have, but also to kind of hear the discussion between someone learning about A&M and someone who knows it very well. So would love to have you. It's splitzoneduo.com, or you can find that anywhere podcasts are sold for a free show as well.
Alex, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
All right. Alex Kirshner there. You can catch a lot of his work there, obviously on the podcast and on Slate as well. And, I don't know, like why people care about other people's money. I've never understood. Like, by the way, it's not our money per se. I mean, a lot of you probably, it's not my money. How about that? But like, you go get the best coach, you pay him, you move on. I don't know why why that's such a joke. To me, it's more of a joke to get 3 hires in a row wrong. That's more of a joke to me. I laugh at that. Like, oh, let me see. Strong? No. Okay. Well, we got it right with this time with Herman. Okay. Let's get our 3rd best choice in Sark. Okay. Like that to me, that's the joke. But as he mentioned there, all things can be true. I never thought the deal was that. This is the price you pay for big boy football, and Texas A&M is willing to pay that price. Are you willing to pay the price for a bad grill, have a bad smile, go around town and people are like, whoa, close your mouth, bro? That could happen. It could happen if you don't have a good smile. I'm just saying. And if you got kids at home like I do, of that age where the teeth are starting to get crowded and they're ready for braces or Invisalign, you got to call our friends Dr. Troy Elms and Dr. Jeremy Stewart there at Elms Orthodontics on the bypass in College Station. They are the ones to go to. Dr. Elms is just a mainstay in the community, 30 years, 16-time Best of the Brasses winner. And, of course, you know about Dr. Jeremy Stewart, class of 03. He's on TexAgs all the time, subscriber, and just a really, really good dude. And they are just the best 1-2 punch out there. If you get some smile needs, Invisalign braces, they are the ones to reach out to for a free consultation. 1501 Emerald Parkway in College Station. The phone number for Elms Orthodontics, 979-693-6300, or online at drelms.com.
You're listening to Aggieland's Home for Sports. The Zone, 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Brian Broadcasting and the Nikki Peterson Talent Network present Good Clean Fun, a comedy night with Carrie Palmeroli.
So you guys, yes, I am a member of the Mommy Mafia. I have 2 kids. I have a 4-year-old and a good one.
Hollywood's favorite clean comedian is live in College Station Friday, September 3rd at 7 at Skybreak Church.
I was in the Zumba class, and there's this teacher, right? And she's all cute and sassy, and she's like, shake what your mama gave you. I'm in the back are going, my mama gave me sciatica and allergies. How do I shake my self-esteem issues?
Bring anyone who's ready for a good time.
You guys, who's happy just to be out of the house? Really? Right?
Good Clean Fun, a comedy night with Carrie Palmeroli, September 3rd. Presented by Nikki Peterson Talent Network. Be discovered. Thanks in part to our sponsors. Strata Auto Repair, Marks, Manny's Appliance Repair and Cleaning Service, and Dirt Road Rustics Furniture and Home Decor. Tickets, VIP, and group packages available at BrianBroadcasting.com.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. Don't look back and wish that you had taken action. Call 833-8ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
The Bellucci Hour is back. It is back at the tap every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Join Billy Liucci of TexAgs, TexAgs.com, TexAgs Radio, and the Liucci Cast, along with Zach Taylor, the infomaniac, and sports director of Brian Broadcasting. Monday, Thursday, 6 p.m. It's the Bellucci Hour, happy hour, and it's all thanks to King Ranch Saddle Shop. Let the Bellucci Hour get you ready for Aggie football 2021.
If you miss TexAgs Radio presented by David Garner's Jewelers, you miss this.
Georgia is the closest to Alabama in terms of look, in terms of a roster. And the next would be A&M. I'm a big believer in what Jimbo. I've seen Jimbo do it time and time again. This is not a program that's currently being constructed to win a big game. It's to build a program to where when you win a big game, you're not storming the field because you won a big game. You want to get the program to the level where people will storm the field when they beat you. And so the solid foundation, which I thought was lacking, even though there was excitement in the early stages of A&M getting in, I think this is more about the solid foundation to where it could withstand changes, because they're going to be changed. The bottom line is, they haven't beat Alabama. Well, not many people have. Not many people have kind of crossed that bridge.
It's TexAgs Radio on the Zone.